Yeah, I think really when you look back at just from my time being here with him all the way back to 22, we've had a really strong relationship. And so even throughout the year, him and I have great talks. Even today, yesterday, like there's nothing changed, in our relationship. He's in my office a ton, hanging out, talking about football, talking about life, talking about things, what we can do differently, what we're doing currently. So I think from that standpoint, like nothing really changes. And he knows kind of how I feel about him and where we want to go and what we're trying to do. And obviously, like he's a main part in this offense. And when we game plan, you always want to look to 11, 26, 6, and 88. That's where the ball needs to go. And it just kind of goes from there. So I think when you look at our relationship all the way back to 22, it's nothing's really changed. And him and I talk continuously pretty much about everything.
AJ's put up big numbers over the past few years. This
Hmm.
year's a bit of an anomaly. I was wondering, I know it's a bit X's and O's, but is there something different the defense is doing this year that you could explain as to why maybe this year it's been a little tougher to get him the ball?
I wouldn't say it's different. I think if you look at the style of defense we've played this year, kind of on a consistent basis, we've played obviously top tier defenses and the pass rush and things like that, and we've done a pretty good job against them. I think it's just kind of been the situations we've been in and teams we've played kind of week after week has just had different games. Obviously, a couple weeks ago we had the Minnesota game. We had two receivers for over 100 yards, and then we had the two backs over 100 against the Giants, and then this one kind of felt a little, obviously not like we would like at all. Felt more like Kansas City kind of. So I think as coaches, we look at that and we try to figure out, is there something that's constantly showing up? I wouldn't say it's the same thing every week. I think we're kind of in those spots where when you're game planning, you're still constantly adjusting. I know this year more than before, we've had a lot of different things once we get out there, and we're adjusting constantly. So like, a lot of people say wait to halftime. Well, for us, it's literally been after the first series. It's like, okay, we got to start to adjust now and find things and kind of work on different plays and talk through plays that, hey, is this the coverage we thought we were going to get? No. So now we got to look to this and look to that. So I think there's a little bit of a difference from that standpoint. I think there's been more change within the game rather quickly rather than kind of game to game. It's been a little bit different, if that makes sense.
So those unscouted looks,
Hmm.
that they've been significantly up compared to.
We've had probably more this year than we probably had in the past. Now, as the game goes, you start to get a feel for things, kind of like the Vikings game, the Giants, when you start to feel the pattern. But I think it's been a little bit different this year. But really, even when you go back to all the way back to 22, that's kind of been a constant thing with us. Once we added AJ in there, and then we added Saquon last year, it really turned into more of a, okay, what are people going to try to do because of who we have? And it's like almost a wait and see game a little bit at times to see what people are going to do. And then obviously Jalen's element with he can run and throw it and get out of the pocket. So then you have that in there too. That's why some weeks certain things appear and some don't, depending on the defensive game plan.
There were some third and longs where you opted
Hmm.
to run the ball. Just what were the kind of factors that
The one was early in the game we were backed up a little bit, and I think it was just more of the way the game kind of went. We had that one drive where we had the penalties and we kept kind of going backwards. That was just kind of one where it went there. There was another one where it was kind of a double play. It was a run, kill, pass, if that makes sense. And the way the coverage dictated it, it got handed off, which was the right call. He did the right thing. Jalen, we gave him two plays. So that happens sometimes in those third and longs. But I think it just depends on each situation game, what the coverage is, what the situation is within the game. What's the field position look like? I know that has a big part of it. And we're in constant dialogue with Nick about this too, so everybody kind of knows we're on the same page. And certain games, I know like Denver, we threw the ball down the field a little bit third and long. So I think it depends on game to game and really the situation, the field position, and things like that.
As a follow-up to that, you lead the league in third and long runs,
Mhm.
or I should say design runs, right, not just scrambles. If you look at it, is this a philosophical thing from the team as far as field position, or in the case the other day, we saw the 3rd and 12 to DeVonta. Are there times when you can throw to the stick?
Hmm. Yeah, I think there definitely is times you want to be aggressive, and we've been at times, and I think it's a little more situational driven. You do not want to run the ball, obviously, every third and long. That's not going to work out really well in your favor. But I think depending on whether you're backed up or where the ball's headed, sometimes you think like, hey, we got a three-man rush. They're going to drop into coverage. If you look back at the Jacksonville game last year, I think it was a 3rd and 20 something against the Jaguars. We handed it off and scored a touchdown. So like it's been done before. It's nothing new. It's always kind of been there for us. It's just we've had more third and longs, which has kind of been something we got to stay out of. And if we can stay out of those, we hopefully don't have this situation pop up.
What did you see on the fourth down play, the final play of the game, just in terms of Jalen's decision-making, potential, any route adjustments, just what did you see on that play?
Yeah, so once that play went in, we were all on board. We knew what we were doing, and we've done that before in other situations in games. And that what's cool about our players are they have high football IQ, and they understand there's certain plays that they have the ability to do what they need to win, and we trust them in those moments. And that was one of those plays. And unfortunately, we just didn't hit it. But in the past, if you look back, we did the same thing against Washington, very similar play with a similar kind of parameter for them. We hit it on a huge fourth down. We did the same thing against Cleveland to basically end the game. So, we have that in us, and our players do a good job of understanding what to do, when to do it, and unfortunately, it just didn't work.
With DeVonta, what makes him such a good, deep ball receiver?
I think there's a couple things. His ability to track the ball is tremendous, right? And I think his speed and just the feel he has for getting behind the coverage and navigating the corner and setting him up and working his way down the field. The play that he scored on the other day was a great job by Jalen. If you watch the play itself, the one that he caught, Jalen did a great job of understanding, like AJ was the first read and they collapsed on it, and we hit DeVonta over the top. So it was really good by everybody. Everybody was where they needed to be, and we executed at a high level there.
How similar or different is preparing for Aidan Hutchinson the way you prepared for Michael Parsons?
I would say it's very similar. I mean, when you look at those kind of guys, they can take the game over, right? They can wreck the game at any point in time. So I think when you're dealing with guys like that, you got to always make sure the protection plan's in place, the run plan's in place. You know where they're at all times. And these guys do a really, really good job. Calvin Shepard does a really, really good job of putting those guys in the right spot, moving them around, like Green Bay did with Parsons. So you got to always be aware of those guys because they're such elite players.
Do you have any theories on why you've been able to run the ball early in games and then not late in games? And I'm not talking about like trying to run out the clock when they have a stack box, but just in general, like Saquon's averaging almost 7 yards carried in the first quarter. Obviously, a 65 is going to increase it, but every game he's been 4-5, 5-5, and then as the game goes on, the production just hasn't been the same. Any theories on that?
I mean, right now, come to mind, I would say no, but it's definitely something like as games go on, we're always looking to see what other complements we can call in the run game to what's going on in the first half or that quarter or that drive. So I think for us, it's really just a matter of continuously finding new ways and different things to get him on the perimeter and get explosive, or up the middle if we can create a crease in there. So I think really it's just as the game goes and flows, we got to continue to work on creating, new complements in different ways to just get him those yards he needs. And, when you watch the Giants game, we were kind of able to do that in spots, and we just got to continue to find ways to do that.
We haven't had a chance to talk to you since the bye week. I know you guys use that time to do a lot of self-reflection. What did you learn maybe about your own offense during the bye week?
I think when we looked back at it, as a staff, there were some similarities to kind of years past with kind of where we were at in certain things. But the biggest thing was that when we were on schedule, we did a really nice job. When we had negative plays or penalties, that's where we got caught. And that's where these 3rd and longs happened, 2nd and longs, and we had some drive stops. And so I think that was the biggest thing, is how do we get rid of those? And how we create explosive plays for our guys and just use different things that we've done throughout the season. Each game has looked so different. We've used tempo, we've used Fred in there, we've used different personnels and continuously are changing things. And I think the neat part about it is we're still finding different ways to win, but we're still trying to find things we can do within each game. So I think when we went through the self-scout, the biggest thing that we found was that there's not one set thing we have right now, but there's all these other things we can build on and kind of create an advantage for ourselves going forward.
Probably along those same lines, but the 3 and outs, I mean, it's a high number. What did you sort of discover, and what's the key to moving past
So when you look at that in the self-scout stuff, and even last week, it's the efficiency on 1st down or 2nd down, right? And you get to those, I think we're very high right now. I can't remember the exact number, in 3rd and longs. And that's the issue. And so we really just got to continue to find ways as coaches to just stay out of those. And, sometimes penalties happen. I got it. But we just got to stay out of those negative plays and stay out of things that keep us off track so we can stay in a manageable 3rd down, because we've been really good in that 3rd and kind of short to medium and good on 4th down. And, as we go for a lot of 4th downs. So that's kind of the key. If we're in range to go for it in 4th down, we're in good shape.
Kevin, what do you like about Will Shipley on 3rd down?
I think really just the way he plays, his style, his speed, he's aggressive. Extremely smart, does really good with protections. He's good in routes. I think just he's got a really good game that kind of suits third down. And a lot of times, it's just kind of rotational. Saquon's in there a lot of third downs too. It's just sometimes on second down, or he had a run on first, or a run on second, or a play on second, and he comes out. So Jamal does a great job of having all those guys prepared, even Tank, for any down. And he does a really good job of making sure they're rolling throughout the game, and so they're all fresh at all times.
The pass pro part of it
Mhm.
with Will, is that what, it seemed more in Green Bay than typical for Will on third down. Is that a part of it, or is it more game plan?
No, it just kind of happened a little bit naturally. We were a little more run kind of in first and second down. So Saquon was getting carries. He was in there a little bit more. And so I think Will was just kind of rotating in that standpoint. And Tank was rotating in a little bit on first and second down. So it was a little more, they were just kind of rolling. And that's just kind of how it went that day.
What's the data point or metric that you most value?
I would say, really, when you look at it, it's just our overall efficiency. We do stuff as an offense after a game to kind of measure, third downs, red zone, all these efficiencies to show if we have the ability to win the game, right? There's kind of a chart that we have that shows negative plays, and it kind of contributes to how many negative plays do you have, how many penalties do you have, versus how many plays you have. Does it give you an opportunity to win the game? And were you efficient in all those game planned areas, like 4-minute, red zone, 2-minute? So that's kind of the thing that we like to look at after games, and I think it's really important for us because it paints a picture for the offense the day after the game, like, okay, were we at the number that we need to be efficient to have an opportunity to win the game? Or were we below it? Why were we below it? It kind of paints the picture of what happened, whether it was negative plays, whether it was we were not good on third down, whether we were not good in the red zone. So I think that's the trick for us as an offense to see when you come out of a game. It gives you the idea of this is what we got to work on, right? Or this is what we were good at, and then kind of go from there. So I think that's the most important thing for us as an offense, to see what we want to do proceeding after a game. Yep.